Heaven's Journey to Life. Accept and allow the contract with death. Day 22. In this post, in this dimension of multi-dimensional existence of who we are and have become, in our relationship to ourselves, the mind, the physical body, others, this physical existence that we have created and manifested since the beginning of ourselves within existence, we're specifying the dynamics and consequences of ourselves and the nature of ourselves as competition that's manifested within ourselves towards others as ourselves, and that still continue to this day in competing for energy within and money without. Where the very nature of this competition had been, in the beginning, consuming substance and transforming it into energy, consuming our very physical body and physical energy and transforming it into mind energy, consuming this very physical existence and transforming it into money, as how who we are as energy has become energy consuming machines and systems, taking from the very life of substance, the mind taking from the very life of the physical, the money system taking from the very life of and as this physical existence, where we've become beings that take life instead of beings that gift and give life to ourselves and to all within this existence in equality and oneness, where we've become beings within existence that only exist for as long as we can empower ourselves from and of the transforming of our beingness substance into and as energy, limiting the time of our existence to the equation of the relationship between our substance and the consuming of that substance into energy. We're in the very nature and manifestation within ourselves as manifested singularities in the beginning, we'd come into being as an individualized part and expression of an as substance, but immediately proceed with the processes of consuming our own substance in life and transforming it into energy. And as we continue within that process, we're consuming our own life, equal to and one with our lives in the human physical body. We're birthed into this existence in and as a manifested singularity as a human physical body, but immediately proceed with the processes of consuming our own physical life through transforming the physical substance and energy into mind energy, and so limit and diminish our living in this physical existence to transforming it into a process of a slow, sure, but certain death, equal to and one with the relationship between the world system of money and this physical existence at an existential scale where the world system of money is consuming the very life of and as this physical existence only because it's an existential scale. It takes longer than what we do within ourselves and our own human physical bodies, where instead of this existence being manifested within the equal and one support of life and living, the world system of money is consuming this physical existence to its slow, sure, but certain death, rotting ourselves away from the inside and out as we have become the very enzymes within our relationship to substance and physical, as our relationships creations of energy that deteriorate and break down substance and physical tissue for our own survival as energy consuming machines, rotting ourselves away within and without instead of standing equal to and one with substance and physicality to produce life and living. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to be birthed into this physical existence, within and as physical body, as manifested singularity, whole, complete, and fulfilled, with and as substance and physicality, as manifested equality and oneness, as an opportunity to create, manifest, and produce life as me in and as my emerging equality and oneness. But because of who I am, as I had accepted and allowed myself to be and become throughout existence, I have not seen, realized, understood this opportunity of being rebirthed into and as this existence, this physical existence, where I had an opportunity every time to emerge with and as my equality and oneness, with and as substance and physicality. Because in that emerging and rebirth, I emerged as a full embodiment, manifested singularity, with and as substance and physicality. But who I am was so solidified throughout time as energy, as myself and those that has gone before me as energy consuming machines, that I over and over and over again utilized, used, abused the process of emerging and rebirthing into an as existence to again gain for myself energy as I emerged and rebirthed into and as an existence and physical existence of and as energy consuming machines, through transforming substance into energy for me to have a limited and diminished time as experience of me as energy within this existence, where I would use, abuse, consume my manifested singularity and human physical body as substance for me to consume and transform into energy as guided and directed and taught by those that has gone before me. In this, I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to, throughout time, create and manifest an existence and leave behind a creation as existence, life after life after life, where beings exist as energy consuming machines of and from substance, where, because I was existing as this, an energy consuming machine, I was accepting and allowing it within and as others as me. And so I would be rebirthed, re-emerging within existence, accepting and allowing myself to be taught, guided, directed to become the best energy consuming machine within myself, my relationships to and towards all parts of me, defended and protected within and as my groupings within existence and my families within this physical existence to ensure that I become successful in my endeavor to survive as energy through consuming my physical body, consuming substance and physicality from and of others, consuming money, and so consuming from and of this entire physical existence, for me to have a limited time experience of and as me as energy, in and as my manifested singularity and human physical body within existence and this physical existence. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand the extent of my self responsibility within and as who I am and have been throughout existence as who I am, as energy consuming machine, with the nature of self reward within my relationship to and towards all as me as competition, that would manifest an entire existence of and as me as energy consuming machines, with the nature of self reward within our relationship to and towards all as ourselves as competition, that would create an existence and physical existence as world system, as energy and money consuming machine, with the nature of self reward within its relationship to and towards all as competition. And so, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand my responsibility to and towards me as all, in that I, as a child, from the beginning of emerging and being birthed into and as this existence, accepted and allowed the creation of me into and as energy consuming machine, within and as the who I am as energy, that accepted and allowed myself to be guided and trained and educated on being and becoming the most effective energy consuming machine within myself in this physical existence for my own survival as path to success in extracting and taking and consuming the most energy from within myself, others as me to reward myself with the most energy experience of and as only me within myself, that the responsibility of who I am and how I live this who I am within this physical existence is and has always been my own absolute responsibility of and as me. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that with me accepting and allowing me who I am as energy, I accepted and allowed who I am in and as others as me as energy. I accepted and allowed this physical existence and world systems who I am as energy and money, and so my responsibilities stand within me, others as me, and this physical existence as me, within and as the starting point of and as acceptance and allowance. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to, with accepting myself as energy, who I am, and allowing myself as energy consuming machine, how I live who I am. I have existed within the mechanics and relationships of acceptance and allowance, accepting and allowing me as I am, accepting and allowing others as they are, accepting and allow my creation, this physical existence as world system as it is. And so, I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to, within this acceptance and allowance, I accepted and allowed this existence as me, as all as me, of consuming life to continue throughout existence, because of my acceptance and allowance of who I am. And thus, within this acceptance and allowance, stand my responsibility to and towards all as me within and as existence as I contributed, accepted and allowed me, and this existence as me, to continue as is throughout time. Instead of all within existence standing in and as one point of and as agreement with themselves as all, as standing within equality and oneness with and as all, where each stand in this agreement with themselves as all to in fact manifest our who I am as equality and oneness that would have created and manifested an existence of and as equality and oneness. In this, I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that because of my separation from and of myself as existence into and as a manifested singularity from the whole, I changed the agreement and standing of and as myself with and as all in and as equality and oneness to the mechanism of accept and allow, where I had to accept myself as energy and allow myself within that acceptance as energy consuming machine, where before my separation, acceptance did not have to and did not exist because I was here, absolute in my completeness and wholeness, in and as equality and oneness. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand how I created the relationship of accept and allow as acceptance only came into being as myself, as energy, where the moment I experienced myself as energy within and as my manifested singularity from and of the friction and conflict to and towards existence as a whole, as the negative energy experience reverberated and resonated and rippled into and as my manifested singularity, I had to, within my beingness as the manifested singularity, establish a relationship with that energy experience, where the nature of that relationship stood within acceptance, accepting as merging myself as my beingness within as that energy experience, or inviting that energy experience into and as my beingness itself as manifested singularity. And in that merging and inviting of myself and my beingness in and as and with energy, manifested my relationship with and as energy experience as acceptance, where my self acceptance in and as the manifested singularity was with the experience of and as energy only, and not even with energy itself. And so I defined and based my acceptance of and as myself only on the experience of and as energy, diminishing myself, my who I am, from substance to only the experience of and as energy itself. In this, I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to be and become a being that will only accept myself, my who I am, based on the extent and amount of energy experience I accumulate, manifest as consumed within and as myself. And so I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed allowance to emerge from within my relationship and creation of acceptance to and towards energy experience, because for me to exist in the acceptance of myself as energy, where my self-acceptance became defined within the extent and amount of energy I experience within and as myself, I had to automatically allow myself the relationship to and towards all of existence as substance as me, within the relationship of consuming life and substance and transforming it into and as energy for the acceptance of and as myself, as energy experience to manifest. And in that, I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to separate and layer my acceptance of myself from and into the negative energy experience to the neutral energy experience and the positive energy experience, where the absolute acceptance of and as myself within and as my manifested singularity within the context of separation would be defined within and as the accumulation and experience of and as positive energy experience. That my acceptance would only be complete, full, and fulfilled in and as the experience of and as myself as positive energy experience. And for that, I have to allow my relationship to and towards existence as myself in generating, creating, and manifest the most conflict and friction as negative energy experience, as allowing me as an energy consuming machine in the acceptance of me as energy. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to transform the standing of me from and of the one and equal agreement and living of me with and as all as me in and as equality and oneness to the relationship of acceptance and allowance as competition to and towards all as me within and as existence, where the consequence of me existing within the relationship of accepting myself as energy experience and allowing myself as energy consuming machine would manifest me into a being that accept and allow others as energy and energy consuming machines, that would manifest my creation into and as the acceptance and allowance of and as energy and money consuming machine, where within my acceptance as energy and allowance as energy consuming machine, consuming life from the beginning of existence, is why I have accepted and allowed a physical existence of life and death, of energy and consumption, of money and consumption, and have not throughout my existence stood up and stopped such an existence of life and death as energy and money consumption, where I had been throughout my existence too preoccupied within my relationship and acceptance with myself as energy, and allowance to consume life and substance for my acceptance of me as positive energy experience, as self-reward of and as absolute acceptance of and as me as energy. And within that allowed my living of and as who I am in the acceptance of me as energy to constantly and continuously generate, create, manifest friction and conflict as negative energy experience, which is why I did not stop and stand up in the interaction and relationships of others as me, and did not stop and stand up in the interactions within this world system of money as me, where all, everything, and everyone had become individuals that take life for themselves, accepting and allowing death within this existence in all its various forms, manifestations, and expressions, and ways and methods. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that because I have not, in fact, changed me as my acceptance and allowance of and as me, I could not and cannot change, stop, transform anything and anyone else as me. And so I enslaved me to myself to death through, within, and as the relationship of accept and allow. And I will keep all enslaved to death as I enslaved me to death until I stop and stand up and change my acceptances and allowances within me to an agreement with and as me as all, in and as equality and oneness as I stand as life, and not accept and allow anything less than life, equality, and oneness as what's best for all, because it will be who I am, what I live as who I am. I commit myself to walking my process of writing, to assist and support me to identify the nature of my acceptances and allowances of and as me as my mind consciousness system manifest that has enslaved me into an as and limited existence of and as creating death as I consume my own substance and physical and transforming it into energy and so creating and manifest death as me. Then, self-forgiveness as the process of releasing my relationship of and as acceptances and allowances of and as me as energy manifest as the mind consciousness system, to in that releasing of my relationships of what I accepted and allowed me to become as who I am, in and as all the separated parts of and as me as my mind consciousness system, and the allowance within that acceptance as how I allowed myself to live out, act out, and create from those acceptances of and as me as my relationships to and towards the mind consciousness system, prepare me within that release of the relationships of and as acceptance and allowance to transform relationships of acceptance and allowance to self-agreement of and as equality and oneness, in transforming myself from a being that accept and allow to a being that live, where within the very statement of self-forgiveness as I forgive myself for accepting and allowing myself, I, in the statement of I forgive myself, make the statement of I release myself. And in that very same moment of I forgive my and release myself from, give and gift me the opportunity to, within that release, within the self-commitment statements and self-corrective application, to follow from self-forgiveness, realign my relationship with myself from acceptance and allowance to agreement as my process of stopping self-separation and standing and being and becoming equal to and one with me, and then all as me. For accepting and allowing myself, what follows from these words is the relationship of acceptance and allowance that self has become, and the release of self in that acceptance and in that allowance within the entire self-forgiveness statement that is written and spoken. Thus, the statement reads, I forgive myself for accepting and allowing myself, as the release of and as self, as what self had accepted as who I am and allowed within the living of and as who I am, to prepare self for the process of corrective statements and corrective living, in changing and transforming self's who I am and self's living into and as a living agreement with self in and as equality and oneness. Then, self-commitment and corrective statements, as the process of taking my acceptance and allowance relationships that I have released in and during and with self-forgiveness, and rewrite, reprogram myself in changing and transforming the acceptance and allowance relationship into an agreement of equality and oneness with and as myself, and assist and support me from here to go into practical corrective living, as I have prepared my who I am to be changed from acceptance and allowance to agreement through writing, self-forgiveness, and self-corrective application. Now comes the process of actual living my changed, transformed who I am. Then, self-corrective application. I see, realize, and understand that I cannot change and transform only my who I am through writing, self-forgiveness, and self-commitment statements alone, without equally as one changing and transforming the living of and as who I am. And thus, the self-corrective application is where I put into practical living application my self-commitment and self-corrective statements as my realignment of and as who I am within myself, to so realign my living of and as who I am in and as my actual physical living in and as this physical existence. So as I change within, I change without. Both processes is a process that I have to in fact walk, that only with changing my who I am within and not changing who I am in and as my living will not change who I am in fact, because who I am must become equal and one within and without to in fact be equal and one. If I am different in my who I am within and without, I am still accepting and allowing separation and deception as what the relationship between the mind and physical has become, where beings are different in the mind and in the physical due to accepted and allowed separation in the mind and physical. And thus, the process to actual self-equality and oneness is where who I am is equal and one within and without. That can only be walked within the process of writing, self-forgiveness, self-commitment statements, and self-corrective application, taking one relationship of acceptance and allowance at a time, one point at a time, because this is how we created and manifested our relationship of acceptance and allowance in the first place.